Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sophie, and today I would like to speak to you about an artwork by Rothko, a painting completed between 1950 and 1952 and left untitled. Last August, I found myself wandering around the Tate Britain with some friends I had met approximately 3 hours before. We hadn't properly had a conversation yet, and the first thing I remember saying, in my hatred of awkward silences, was, I think there's supposed to be a famous Turner exhibition here. And so, with a slightly uncomfortable shuffle of mutual agreement, we found our way over to the collection. After a few minutes of solemn nodding, the package deal that comes with observing work by the father of modern art, or trying not to look too pretentious, we gravitated into a smaller, secluded room. It is called Experiments on Canvas and contains some of the J.M.W. Turner's last works, pure and expressive and romantic and undeniably beautiful. Our solemnness evaporated at once, for there was an impostor among us. Here, in the midst of these revered and worldly scenes, loitered a yellow rectangle. I was more than a little cynical. What was this thing doing among Turner's masterpieces? And what was it? And why, in the words of Robert Louis Stevenson, was my imagination so engaged, or rather enslaved by it? I found myself back there later that day. I will now interrupt this tale with a brief overview of the life of Rothko, as I feel this work cannot be truly appreciated without the relevant context. Rothko was born on the 25th of September, 1903, exactly 104 years before I was, in what was then the Russian Empire and is now Latvia. He later immigrated with his family to Portland, Oregon, before moving independently to New York City to pursue his artistic career. Initially, Rothko worked in a style influenced by Surrealism and Expressionism, before pioneering his own form of abstract expressionism, engineering the birth of the multiform colour-field paintings, the style which characterizes the Rothko to this day. Throughout his career, Rothko faced a number of personal struggles, including financial difficulties, and, in his later years, the Depression, which would lead to his suicide in 1970. His legacy lives on, however, with notable works including the Rothko Chapel and the Seagram murals, a set of works commissioned by New York's hottest dining establishment that never actually made it to the restaurant due to his apparent disgust at those, to keep it polite, people who ate there. Rothko instead chose to donate these works to the Tate, an institution that makes art accessible to the millions, regardless of these class politics, where his works are now immortalized among some of those by his greatest inspiration, Turner. But now for this work. Generally known to have been completed between the years 1950 and 1952, it begins Rothko's mature period. This unnamed work marked a transition towards the multiform paintings fully taking flight. The first point to note is the significant narrowness of the work. Uncharacteristic of Rothko, it is believed to be one of the narrowest he ever created. The second point to note is the title. Silence is so accurate. By choosing to leave this piece untitled, Rothko has removed any superficial factors that could give the work external meaning. He has produced a body of pure, untainted emotion, a glimpse into his own soul, which is a feature of all his works that follow World War II. Believing that titles would limit the transcendency of his works, Rothko ceased to either conventionally name or frame any painting henceforth. He hoped that, in the absence of a title, the viewer would be free to imagine, to overcome the paralysis posed by external command, and to personally experience the sublime sensation of limitless immensity, and of true emotion, of the very drama of the human condition itself. The human is a being so complex and individual, and will not have any label plastered to it. This fundamental drama is steeped into the paint itself. Deep layers of oil and possibly egg and resins create the vibrant translucency reminiscent of Titian's old mastery, emanating light from within the very canvas. Each brushstroke trembles with character and human energy, while the juxtaposing hard and soft edges are the depth of mind that mirrors the uncertainty and nuance of human life. But, while it is all very well for me to prattle on about each brushstroke trembling with character and human energy, it would be very difficult for me to argue that this is not simply a yellow rectangle, albeit with a pink line through the middle. And so we must turn to colour. A bright, yellow field of colour, a color of happiness, of joy, of hope, right? Here is a legitimate conversation between Rothko and a woman looking to purchase a piece. Mr. Rothko, I'd like a happy painting, a red painting, an orange painting, a yellow painting, a happy painting. Red, orange, yellow. Isn't that the color of an inferno? Very joyful. To me, the pink line indicates movement and severance. As it separates the large yellow fields, it suggests that each area of life is connected by something delicate, and yet tragically held apart by it. It is an interpretation of the journey of life itself, representing both the energy and the pain that runs through every life. But perhaps we are not all convinced. Any nonsense I might make up about art or life will not turn this yellow rectangle into one of Turner's landscapes, or successfully defend it from being decreed bad art or christened a painting by my 3-year-old in an Instagram comment section, which is the fountain of all knowledge, obviously. Speaking of Instagram, it recently led me to the Stuckism movement, the belief that figurative painting should be promoted over conceptual art. To a Stuckist, therefore, this work is vulgar or inferior to any figurative painting like those of Turner. But, as T.J. Clarke argues in his In Defense of Abstract Expressionism, this vulgarity actively works to embody a deep engagement with the conditions of representation and social context. He later emphasizes, in the article Art's Role in Society, how abstract expressionism can articulate, in a way impossible to traditional or figurative painting, the complexities of modern life and the interplay of individualism and the collective experience that binds us as a species. So perhaps this is why I felt so engaged, or rather enslaved, by this titleless painting, this figureless drama. The Oxford English Dictionary defines art as the expression or application of human creative skill, typically in a visual form, such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. Emotional power. Art is rooted in feeling, not form. It is through the beauty and the intricacies of the human experience that we can hope to move forward as a collective. I would encourage every Stuckist to stand with a Rothko in person, to be challenged to experience the soul of a human drama in which you are the sole participant. And so it turns out Untitled wasn't really an imposter after all, but a welcome guest whose spirit resides beyond mere abstraction, but in the being of every individual. Art is and must remain for everyone. It is the purest and truest depiction of our humanity, especially now living through times of such shattering divide and the ever-growing threat to our individualism. It is vital now that we should allow it to unite us, once and for all. Thank you for listening.